Everybody's talking at the comic spot. The comic spot. The comic spot. Everybody's talking at the comic spot. The comic spot.
Hi, Facebook people. How are we today? I don't need my glasses anymore. Got past that. I'm your girl, Linda Marcus Smith, doing these comedy interviews from my home with Marilyn Monroe. Just so you don't think I look like her, I guess. I don't know. It was a cheap picture. And today we have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful comedian, actually. Comic is underneath her, I'm so sure. She is a comedian of 35 years. That is qualified to be considered a veteran of the comedy world. She's a comedian, an actress, actor, whichever you prefer. And also she's done writing for shows. She's got 2 podcasts. She's got an album that's a bestseller on iTunes and Billboard. Yeah. So she's doing it. You should see the list of all the things she's appeared on. I mean, if you watch a good, funny show at late at night, like Colbert, she's been on it. She's been, oh my gosh, let me read you a few things I wrote down. She's been on, I don't know if I can find it. Let me go to this thing with Midjig. She's been on The Late Show with Colbert. She's been on The Daily Show. No, this is Jackie's TV. This must be shows you like.
They might be things that I enjoy. Yes. How you doing, Linda?
It's misleading, is it
It
not?
is misleading. That is not accurate. And so
you've been on Murphy Brown. Do you know what?
Sure.
Oh
That
my
was
gosh.
Back in the 12th century, it was my acting debut. Yes.
I knew her when she was beige.
And
Is that funny? No, okay.
I don't
You
know.
were you were on the show Looking Forward and Bob's Burgers, right?
Sure. Bob's
Okay.
Burgers. That one
And-
was new.
Well, let's talk about Jackie. Forget everything you've accomplished. Just
go to JackieKashian.com if you want to see the credits. It's all good, Linda. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I only have 2 brain injury and I'm doing my best.
Excellent.
I think you make a better comedian with at least 1 brain injury.
Oh, interesting. Okay. It's I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for coming. You have no idea how happy I am to have you here. Would you like to verbalize, since evidently my skills at getting your credits isn't that great, would you like to say your credits or just have them look?
No, it's fine. I do stand up, and if they ever want to see stand up, they could, it's at Jackie Kashian, or I have a new album out and a new special. So if it's just Staycation, kind of like vacation, but it's with my last name, Staycation, and Kashian is spelled Kashian. So super fun. Yay.
While we're talking about Jackie Kashian, I want to say my coach in New York, Gladys Simon, told me at some point in my life I have to study and meet Maria Bamford. So I came to Wise Guys, because that's my club, to see Maria Bamford, and I walked out becoming a fan of you.
Oh, very nice. And that's the one in Salt Lake City, right?
The one in Vegas.
In Vegas.
Yeah, you gave me a free mask with
the joke hole. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fun.
So, it's not that often that people will come to see a headliner and fall in love with anyone else on the lineup. That's the strength, the power that you have. You're such a strong female comic, so funny, so confident. And I want to go into after we get done pumping up your ego, I want to go into your childhood and find out, how did you become this powerhouse?
Well, how long have you been doing stand-up?
7 years with a brain injury.
Okay, so the thing about stand-up is that the longer you do it, it's like there's that banana head dude who writes that thing about 10,000 hours, but Gladwell, Malcolm Gladwell. So the only way to get good at stand-up comedy, right, is to do it. And the only way to get good at interviewing people, you know this because you do it, right, is to do it. And you learn how to listen, you learn how to get the timing right. And everybody does stand up from their own personal experience, or at least for me, that's the best kind of stand up, right? Is when you talk about something that is, you could talk about anything that the things that everyone talks about is fine. Like if you got a cell phone material, that's all well and good. But what is it about cell phones that affects you, and the more personal you make it, the more you have a chance to really identify closer with each and every person in the audience. So
Wow,
it's just
that's a
numbers, right?
paradox.
Well, yeah, because you think it's too big. You're just like, oh, everybody's talking about, commercials, or everyone's talking about TV shows. But if it's because we all have the same human experience, right? But if you like if everyone's watching a certain show, let's say it's a Marvel, Spider-Man, whatever, if everybody's watching it, what do you think about Spider-Man that makes it unique, right? Did you like Batman? Everyone loves Batman. The personal story, I've never done this on stage, but the personal story would be that one of my brothers, when we were kids, told our neighbors that our uncle was Batman and that Robin was our cousin. And that we talk about Batman is Batman. But then we bring it to my family, right? And then people are like, what happened? And that's silly and funny. And then there's a possibility for punchlines, right? Because that's all you need is you need premises so that you can write the punchlines.
Got it. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
the longer I've been in comedy, like you say, the better I can dig deep. Like at first I was doing jokes because they were funny. And now I'm at the level where, I do guest spots or host. And I'm at the point where, like I can really dig deep, a lot deeper than I did in a topic. And it's funny because it's true. And I think
Right.
the audience picks up on that.
Right. And you're connecting more with the audience, the more honest and more vulnerable you get. There's, when you start doing stand up, there's two things that happen. One is you just say anything to sort of get any response, right? You're looking for shock jock stuff. You're looking for gross. It can be anything, depending on who you are, where you go with it. And the second thing is when you start to realize that when you show vulnerability, you can't go wrong with it, right? Because it is a real connection that you're having with the audience. But you have, when you first start doing it, you think things are funny because you lived through them, right? Like there are people that do stand-up comedy about being beaten, about being raped, about being, almost murdered, about losing all their money, about, being terrified of heights and all these things and almost dying. And those are awesome premises, but you have to remember to write a punchline because the audience is just like, what? And so it's super, they get scared for you and you're like, no, it's funny, I lived. And they're like, yes, you did live. I'm gonna need a couple of punchlines to bring us back to, like, there's a young man who does I saw him last night. It's super funny stuff, but I wish it went like, because the stuff about he lost his virginity when he was 32. This is a big deal. It's a gold mine. He is a man. You're not supposed to, the twist is you're not supposed to lose your virginity when you're 32 if you're a 45-year-old dude or 40-year-old, whatever, however old he is. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But what I wanted, because all that stuff was funny, that stuff is all gold about losing his virginity when he was 32. I wanted him, because it doesn't lead into anything where he's like, and now I have a partner, and now I have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or anything. It's now I'm alone. And you're like, if you're going to be alone, I'm going to need a punchline about how that's funny too. And the obvious place to go, and it's dirty, but the obvious place to go is masturbation, right? Because you're just like, okay, well, are you really good at being alone? Please tell us more. And then there's punchlines there. So whatever vulnerable thing you're talking about, I try to make sure that it ends with sort of, and I use this judiciously, a happy ending. So, but yeah, so but I think that it makes the audience feel safer, that you're not just telling them some sad, horrifying story. You're saying, here's a sad, horrifying story that ends with me stronger, with me smarter. I've learned something, or I got over it, or, something good happened at the end of it. I like a nice sort of happy ending, kind of a good button on it.
Yes. Like I was in the military. I'm a Vietnam era female veteran.
Nice.
And in my, thank you.
What were you in?
I was in the army over in Germany. And when I went there, I was the only woman on post. So I've got all kind of jokes about how, but then you got the Me Too people in the audience, and you got the older people that look at you and go, you're so sweet. I'm so sorry that happened. You try to, no, come on, go along for the ride. I got punchlines. Let's do this.
Yeah. Right. It's okay. We all lived. And right. And sometimes you have to, with stuff like that, you have to sort of shorten the horrible story to something that's only like 3 or 4 lines, hit them with a punchline, and then go back to the story. Still horrible. Another tiny chunk of how horrible it was, another punchline, and then bring it, you're just like, I knew a guy who was a dirtbag, and this horrible thing happened, punchline. And then you're like, it's okay, I lived. And then you're like, and then this other horrible, and you try to spread it out a little bit so that they don't have to actually relive the fucking nightmare. So, because they don't need it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Spread out the trauma.
Yeah, spread out the trauma and pepper it with enough punchlines so that they don't have to relive it doesn't have to relive in real time. You're just like, you don't need to spend 6 years in a terrible relationship. Why don't I sum it up? And
oh my gosh. So let's take the comedy that you're doing right now, put it aside for a minute. And I'm like, with my brain, I go like to go on a trip back to when you were a little kid. Now I'm going to project, just surmise, that you were the kid in the back of the room making smart aleck remarks.
I was not.
Really?
Nope.
Thought I had you pegged.
You were that kid?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's there was plenty of that kid around. That kid existed, but I was not that kid. I was a loner. I was super quiet. I spent most of my time just walking around the small town that I'm from and reading books and playing in the woods. So
So you read books, and then like what subjects did you excel in school? English and reading, and then
all of that. Yeah, all of that. Not math or science or anything, but I think if I would have had better teachers in those, I would have done better. And I think sometimes about taking classes now, because I would love to learn what the hell is algebra? What the hell is geography? Not geography, geometry, right? And so super. But I grew up in this little town that's essentially, I could give you the Norman Rockwell tour of this little factory town in Wisconsin, or I could give you the meth lab tour. And but I would prefer at all times to give you the Norman Rockwell tour. I think anyone could give themselves the meth lab tour of any town. So it's not that hard to find. You're like, oh, I just go to the sort of dodgier side and watch people.
When did your funny bone appear? Because you're hysterical. You're so, and who helped you get this good besides the 35 years?
Well, that's the my stepmother, I think, gave me my sense of humor, and my dad my timing. And then I have 4 older brothers and an older sister. I come from a very large family. Not as big as some of the neighbors. Some of the neighbors had like 12, 18 kids, but we just had 6. And then I went to college and I started doing stand up, and I wanted to quit college and do stand up right away. And my sister was like, "Nope, you're going to finish college." And it turns out she is the boss of me. So I finished college in 1988, and then I screwed around for a couple of years, went to Europe and backpacked and had a dumb job. And then I moved to Minneapolis in 1990. And then I started doing stand up there with a day job. And I moved to Los Angeles in 97. And I got a day job here. And I quit my day job here in 2003. And I've just been doing the road and making albums and doing stand up. And everyone's been pretty supportive. It's as much as they can, and I'm just plugging along because I like it. And my expectations, I was told very early on that, and there is advice on JackieKashian.com. If you go to that website, on the cover of my website, there is an advice. The advice I was given as a child, which as a new comic, and it's on the lower right hand side of nope, I can't share. Anyway, it's on the lower but it's essentially like, I wish I could and I might be able to. Let's see. What's going to happen here, Linda, is I'm going to take a picture of my website, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go to this thing right here, and I'm going to what? There we go. Come on, buddy. I believe in you. Nope. Anyway, but it's like, oh, I have it on blur, so nothing I show you will show up. But the weird thing is the come on, sweetheart. Video background.
I think I like you so much because I can tell from your comedy you're a straight shooter, no BS.
Yeah, well, and that's a learned skill too, right? It's you're old enough to know that if you want things to happen, you have to work on them, right? And so I've spent most of my life trying to not be bitter that I didn't get stuff, right? And remember to share, right? To share what I have with the younger comics, and because comics have been good to me, right? Like I opened for Maria Bamford and I opened for Brian Regan, and they're both incredibly talented comics that the reason I opened for them is for me. Then I get to watch Maria Bamford do an hour. Then I get to watch Brian Regan do an hour. But they also pay super fair. And there's other comics that I really enjoy who have either never asked me to open for them, or they've asked me and they don't pay well. And I can't afford to. I mean, I don't like them that much. And but people have been very good to me. So I think it's only fair that I pass that on. But I'll tell you something, that is a learned skill. That's muscle memory, right? I, by default, am self-absorbed, a narcissist, want mine, right? Like everybody wants theirs. I too wish for mine. And so what I have to do is I have to sort of get a perspective of, like in the late 90s, essentially, I decided that because I did stand up obsessively from 1984 to 1997, 98, 99. And in about 99, I decided that I wanted a whole life where I would have a boyfriend, maybe, and a relationship. Because prior to that, I was just getting laid occasionally because I just needed a tune-up, right?
Okay, do you have tips on that?
I'm getting laid. Lower your standards.
Date comedians.
Oh, I don't recommend that at all. Audience members are easier to work. I usually got laid in Dubuque, weirdly enough. So the But the weird thing so in 99, I decided that I wanted a boyfriend. So I literally, it was the very beginning of online dating. It was almost like the back of the newspaper, kind of dating situations, but it was online. And I filled out and I signed up. And from probably 99 to 2003, I would do online dating. And every 3 or 4 months, I'd be like, this is exhausting. I cannot meet one more dude for coffee where he doesn't like me or I don't like him, or occasionally it would be a little weird. And I was like, but so I would take some time off and then I go back into it. And in 2003, I met, and I also sort of like drew what I wanted out of my life, like I wanted a boyfriend. I wanted someone, and I was willing for the first time, because I had been around so many dude comics for so long, that I kept falling in love with guys that were as, almost as funny as there are two kinds of male comics that I love: guys that are funnier than me, and guys that are as funny as me, but not funnier than me. And the guys that were as funny, but not funnier than me, those were the guys that I fell in love with.
Oh,
The guys that were funnier than me, I was like, no, I can't be around that guy. That guy's funnier than me. And which is such a dude thing to say, but is also true for everyone, for women, for men. And so my current husband, who became my boyfriend in 2003, he's not a comic. He's a game designer. And what I decided when I started doing that sort of online dating, as I did it, I decided that I reevaluated what I wanted out of life. And I wanted to let someone be good to me, let someone be kind. And because what I've always wanted out of a partner, out of a boyfriend, was someone who was nice, someone who was funny, someone who was smart. And the nice thing had been vilified so badly in stand-up comedy. Girls don't like nice guys, bitches, man. And you're like, calm down. I actually do like, turns out I like a decent human being. And my husband is a better person than I am. Almost, I would say 98% of the time. And he has encouraged that in me, right? To become a better person. And so I think I'm a better person than I was 20 years ago, for sure. And it's a learned skill. And now it's a little bit more muscle memory than it was when I first started. It used to be harder for me to be nice. Now, when I am a jackass, and I am, I am not perfect. I am an entire human being. And, but when I'm a jackass, I recognize it almost immediately. And so I can sort of back off almost immediately, because I've realized, oh, hey, that wasn't cool. What are you, out of your mind? I also learned how to apologize and mean it. I learned how to, and I had a friend for many years, because I tend to lose it in retail situations. We had this pact where if either of us lost it in a retail situation, we had to tell the other person, and we had to apologize to the retail person.
I love that. That will keep me in check if I have to do that.
Right. I think it was like the second or third time she said to me, when are you gonna get sick of apologizing to strangers, Jackie? Just pause before you whip a bell pepper at a guy packing your groceries, or you yell at somebody who's too slow in line while you're trying to buy a soda and you throw a $5 bill at them. There's a lot of me throwing things that are not horrible at people. Like they're not like, I'm not throwing knives, but it is not okay. It is, and I'm not throwing punches for the most part, but it isn't okay. So
yeah,
it's a learned skill, life, it turns out.
I look so sweet and innocent, but I'll tell you, if somebody is being an absolute dick, I almost match them, and that's not funny,
No, and it's a learned skill to learn to wait and go, okay, you were a dick. I could just leave, it turns out. Like online, I have this whole thing on Twitter where if anybody's mean to me, I block them. Because if we were in real life, I wouldn't stand there and take it. I would leave the room. I would not. And so why? And they're like, you don't want to have a real conversation. And I'm like, you can't take it. And I was like, no, I can't take it. You know why? Because I don't have to.
Right.
I just because we both have the internet doesn't mean you get to be a dick. And I have to listen to you. I don't have to listen to you. I'm an adult woman. I can fuck right off. And so I do.
It feels like the internet has become the new way to have road rage.
Yeah, there's plenty of road rage happening on the internet for sure. And you're just like, don't do it. Just and I'm guilty of it too. So it's again a learned skill to not be a jerk.
Yeah, or be a jerk back.
Or to be a jerk back.
Yeah. So you were growing up and you were not showing your funny bone until in college in Wisconsin. And so tell me about that transition. You just thought you'd go to comedy. What kind of things made that happen? And you like
I saw stand-up comedy. And they were like, open mic is on Sunday. And I was like, and I always wanted to do something artistic, right? I wanted to be an actor or write. And and the guy was like, open mic is on Sundays. So 3 weeks later, I came to open mic, and it was like falling, what I assume falling into a vat of heroin would be, because I was addicted immediately. And so then I just kept doing it forever. What about you?
So, if you ask the question, you got to be ready for the real answer. I'm a straight shooter. So I got a brain injury for free from a drunk driver in 1996. And my daughter took care of me for 16 years while I was recuperating. And she's bipolar, and she took it out on me, maybe because I was too difficult, maybe not because she's bipolar, but the combination of the pressure and what she had to deal with, she was physically abusing me. And so I didn't know I was the frog in the pot. And when it dawned on me, I said, we need to stop this insanity and both get some help. And she hasn't wanted to talk since. So that day I called up Ace's Comedy Club in Murrieta, California. And I asked Rocky Osborne if I could come in and learn comedy. I always wanted to be a comedian, always. But I never had the guts to do it till that moment.
Right.
So that's why.
That's awesome.
So you're in college. How scared? You don't seem like the type that would be scared of nothing. You make up your mind and you just go do it. Were you scared your first time doing comedy? And how basic?
Yeah. It's just stand up. There's an echo going on. Are you guys hearing that? Is there any kind of
probably me talking when you're talking?
No, it should be fine because it's Zoom. It's not like it's the first time Zoom has ever done this. Anyway, I'm I get nervous about doing new shows, and I get nervous about doing it initially, and I get nervous about going to new rooms and all the things, right? Sure.
What's a horror story? Because you've traveled. I bet you've done military comedy for like the troops, haven't you?
Yeah. I went to Iraq in 2006, and everybody was super nice. You can I do a bunch of material about it on my Horcrux album, and but everybody, stand up is it's like a job. Anybody, it's like any job. There's no real there's no real way to there's bad bosses, and there's bad coworkers, and there's loneliness and travel like a lot of salespeople have, and it's the same. There's no more or less kind of stories that anybody else has. I don't know if you, but it has been I do have to go. I'm so sorry.
You gotta go. No problem.
Yeah, it's been a good half hour, but yeah, it's been super fun talking to you.
I noticed you had something else on your mind, and I was going to ask you if you wanted to cut it short. I'll post this with all your links off your Facebook page and anything I find on your website. And good God, Jackie
Cation, you got it.
I got it. Jackie Cation, thank you so much for the
Of
interview.
course. Yeah, super fun. And yeah, I like talking about real stuff. So this was awesome talking to you. And
So real. Thank you.
keep doing stand up and have a good one. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye. Bye, Jackie Cation.